right here. Okay, chapter 9, subchapter E deals with law enforcement. Okay, and the use of force and deadly force. All right, this is page 10. This is page 11. Okay. A peace officer is justified in using deadly force. I'll let you have this. I have plenty of these. Against another, when and to the degree, blah, blah, blah. Let's just go to the blah, blah, blah. And if the use of force would have been justified under subsection A, and the actor, who was James Whitehead, reasonably, in this instance, the actor is Robert Arnold, reasonably believes the conduct for which arrest is authorized included the use or attempted use of deadly force. James Whitehead never used or attempted to use deadly force. So therefore, Robert Arnold is not justified.
Right.
What you're seeing here, each grand juror got this.
Right.
Just as you see it right here.
Now, where did it come from then in the Texas Rangers investigation where he says, even in our story, that that he had reason
You asked me why am I doing this? That's why I'm doing this. My letter states because there's no doubt that this is an inaccurate, incomplete, biased, or any combination of all kinds of things about that. It's incorrect. It's not. It's just not absolutely correct in many ways.
And yes, I mean it's obvious. You'd like to see Robert Arnold be taken to justice, but at the same time, really, a basis of your thing is just take the time to look over it again. If they still come back with a decision that isn't in James Whitehead's family's favor, of course, you said you're going to go to the Attorney General, but in any sense, but
as long as the facts are presented to the grand jury, as long as
that's what you're after.
That's what I'm after. I want them to get an accurate, factual presentation to them about this case. I want them to be advised that Robert Arnold had all these other options. That the penal code says explicitly this. The Code of Criminal Procedure. I gave them the Code of Criminal Procedure excerpts. Nowhere in there does it say Robert Arnold had to arrest James Whitehead. He did not. He had no legal obligation to arrest James Whitehead that day.
And a biased question that I've always had and haven't been able to ask anybody yet is, and totally unbiased, is that a lot of the witnesses there that day were friends. The ones that are immediately around there were friends of Whitehead's. Does that take into account?
2 of them were.
All right. Does that
in any way? The guy in the back truck.
Does that in any way take into account? Their statements. Maybe they lean in one way with that. Well, how does that work?
In any traumatic event, when you take witness statements, there's going to be some inconsistencies. There's going to be some people who are going to be on the side of one person, such as this incident here I'm talking about. There's going to be some on the other side who want the police to be their buddies, Gabe. They don't want to make the police officers go against him in any way, so that whatever the police officer says, they're going to more or less agree with. That's why we have the grand jury, who is entitled to have all the facts and witnesses. Let them decide who they think. It's almost like a mini trial. It's a non-adversarial. The grand jury is non-adversarial, but if I were on the grand jury, I certainly would want to hear key witnesses, and
even if they're on.
And let me give
you an
example. Sam Kitchell, you were at the arbitration here. You heard Chief Kitchell say that all the other witnesses did agree on one very important key thing here. That contrary to what Robert Arnold said, Robert Arnold's the only one that said when James Whitehead came out of that store that James Whitehead approached Robert Arnold. Robert Arnold is the only witness that said that. All the other witnesses said Whitehead went around the truck to get in the truck, and Robert Arnold approached him. So you're looking for those consistencies, and then you have to determine. You put those consistencies together. You look at the inconsistencies, and you're always going to have them. No, it was a dark blue car. No, it was a black car. Just because it's inconsistent doesn't mean it's wrong.
Right. And another thing too, I guess, is a lot of people have said he was sitting in the truck. How much deadly force or attempt to hurt Captain Arnold could have came from the sitting in a truck? Because that's been proven that he was shot inside the truck.
He was shot inside the truck. That's my understanding. And my understanding is there's going to be a top-notch expert in this country who's going to testify that James Whitehead was sitting in that truck when he was shot.
It's hard to hurt somebody inside of a truck if you don't have a gun yourself.
Well,
that's basically the only...
Let's go way back. The weapon never should have been produced.
Mm-hmm.
Robert Owen never should have put himself in a position where he could have been harmed by James Whitehead taking that weapon from him. And I'm the same way that Chief Kitchell testified to today. People have told me the exact same thing. If James Whitehead had wanted to harm or hurt Robert Arnold, he had every opportunity to do so, and he could have done it in just a matter of seconds.
Right. And now this has been presented to the grand jury, of course.
Not
your
factually,
letter.
not completely.
Your letter.
No.
Your letter.
Okay,
so,
well, let me clarify that. What occurred was I asked to see the foreman of the grand jury. I had 12 envelopes made up containing all my information, one for each grand juror. Okay, I asked to see the foreman. They would not let me see the foreman of the grand jury. So I ended up, they ended up agreeing with me that if I would give the package to the bailiff, who is Floyd Henry, he would give them to the grand jury. Mm-hmm. I did not make one for Mr. Kimbrough. He did not get one.
Okay.
I mean, from me. He didn't get it from... The agreement was obviously through Mr. Kimbrough that that's the way it was going to be. So that's all I wanted. That's all. I just wanted the grand jury to have this factual, and for them to have the opportunity. Like I said in my letter, I kept emphasizing the grand jury doesn't work for John Kimbrough.
Mm-mm.
It doesn't.
They work for the citizens.
It works for the system and the citizens, and they are totally independent. They can be totally independent.
Yeah, because a lot of times the district attorney, I don't think he's allowed in the hearings.
He is not allowed in hearing while they're deliberating. The attorney representing the state, the district attorney, does have the right to be in there while witnesses are being questioned.
Right.
But the grand jury has their own. They can say, we want to talk to Randy Edwards. We want Randy Edwards subpoenaed. We want him sitting here. Mr. Kimbrough can't stop that.
Right.
He can be there but he can't stop it.
Right.
They have the right to power subpoena.
Right.
Again, my letter states I'm not an attorney. I'm not a legal scholar, and this is all based on my research.
Right.
But I don't believe that I'm inaccurate in what I'm saying.
Right. And I don't know how easy it is to talk about. I just got a couple more for you. Is, like I just said in our story, is you've been through this. You've been through this exact position.
No.
Captain Hart, well, not this position, being questioned, but you have taken the life of somebody as a police officer in 1978.
That's correct.
And we're no build. Everything went through fine. So
after
you've been in the shoes in the situation.
This tragic event in my life occurred about around, if I remember correctly, around 7 o'clock in the evening on the 24th of November 1978. After a pretty intense investigation by the Orange Police Department and the District Attorney's Office, 5 days later, not that night, not the next day, 5 days later, the Chief of Police issued a supplemental office report. I gave the grand jury a copy of the front page of that supplement report, and it clearly shows the date this occurred and the date Chief Halsey wrote his report, saying that his opinion, after a complete investigation, I was justified.
Right.
He didn't walk in that night and say, Harold, you're okay, buddy. He didn't walk in the next day and say, Harold, you're okay, buddy. As I'm sitting in his office at 3 o'clock in the morning, Gabriel, I just killed an 18-year-old kid. I'm 26 years old.
Wow.
I've been married for 7-8 months. I've been in Orange. I'm sorry, no, this is 2 years later. I'm thinking. But anyway, I'm sitting there giving my statement to the chief about what happened. Mike Schuff, who's a retired county court lawyer, he's assistant district attorney sitting in the room while I'm giving my statement. As I'm giving my statement, he stops me and reads me my rights. He's the only man to ever read me my rights in my lifetime.
Wow. And what had happened, I guess we could tell, is that disturbance led to a robbery and an aggravated assault.
Correct.
And
it was a gas station. It was a gas station, and this young